Fiona and one is even did you send the whole email? Yeah. Who raised Harry? We drew Harry here. Oh, definitely. You can have the 2 points. Does the round start at 10 or like 10:30? 10. Oh, then I should send it. Then you find. Or just show it to me and put it in the email. I'm gonna send my notes. First comment. How are you talking? Like where the judge is. Are you sure you don't know that? I can't tell who's who either. It's Dave. Wait, is this quarter or semi?
Did someone say my name?
No, we're just looking for. Why is semi already out? Oh, novice. No, that's not. I don't know why they divided it like this. It's so weird. Anthony and Gabriel. Oh, I don't know. But is this off? Connect to the. I think this is off. So his. There's one and it's. I don't know. I already have one. Connect to the internet here. Send it out before I read it. Should I borrow one of your stands? Yeah. And I just sent it out, by the way. I just scratched it, but it's still. You what? I just scratched it, but okay. Oh. You scratched it with what? I don't know. Oh. Tricolor? I don't know if the camera can see me, but whatever. Okay. Okay, just let me know when everyone has the document. Yeah.
I have it.
Okay.
I also have it.
Anyone not ready?
Me too.
Okay. Don't send it in the body. Okay, then I'll start. Contention 1 is human dignity. The death penalty is racist, state sanctioned murder. The argument is for all suffer from fundamental flaws. 416. African Americans constitute 35% of those that sentenced death and killed 27 both blacks who have been convicted of murdering whites, or whites who have been convicted of murdering blacks. 31 of the defendants were executed, while 296% black. For the Southwest, most death penalty executions at 80%. The death penalty is not the result of immediate self-defense. The 4 constitute 90% of the death row population. State sanction and it's unjustified since the public is not legally permitted to murder. Neither should the state and government be permitted to do so. Federal death penalty can be triggered by 60 different offenses, and the DOJ is intervening to take over state cases. Federal cases receive weaker review and disproportionately targets black people, 019. Trump restart executions after more than a decade and a half. Legal injection challenges cruel, providing numerous examples of executions dating back to 1980s and cause visible suffering. The first 5 federal die were all convicted of offenses likely to dampen public outrage and raise the list of lies that the death penalty greatly suits will be black person after black person. You'll find trauma, mental illness, procedural disasters, all kind of problematic things. The federal death penalty is played by the same problems that cause people to move away from the death penalty. In the state, 16 new offenses became punishable with death, whereas the state death penalty convictions are subject to layers of review. Federal convictions only get the latter. In many cases, receive little meaningful scrutiny. A major effect of the 1994 crime bill encouraged the DOJ to take over cases that could have been prosecuted at the state level. The federal death penalty was resurrected in 1980. It was limited to drug trafficking related crimes, now practically any murder involving additional felonies. It's fair game as federal prosecutions ramped up evidence, racism became unmistakable. 15 of the 20 defendants have been people of color. As a jury was provided the opportunity for implicit race bias increases since Trump took office, capital defense community has seen sharp spike in capital prosecutions at the same time as the federal government. Independently, some states would continue killing themselves unless their force is stopped by the federal government. New York Times 17. The truth that 19 states with the already banned capital punishment at the same time gone to great lengths to hide their lethal injection protocols from public scrutiny. They won't stop killing people unless, of course, there's no reason not to take a final step and end the death penalty for good. Capital charges, death sentences, and executions are all inherently torturous. The prohibition against torture should be absolute, and no circumstance can be used to justify it. Vesper 916. Capital charges, death sentences, and executions inflict severe trauma and bear the clear indicia of torture. State sanctioned killing applies to a wide variety of acts. Inherently torturous activity constitutes an affront to human dignity and the right to be free from torture and cruelty. Not only of capital defendants in death row, it may subject to continued threats of death from efforts on death itself. But capital litigation also affects judges and jurors, prosecutors, and defense lawyers, crime victims, families, and the level of the capital defendants. The threat of war cannot justify military commanders to resort to torture practices, and surely legislative judges and juries should not be permitted to operate or make torture, death sentences, and executions. Either the prohibition against torture is absolute. Under law, no circumstance can be used to justify torture. Deliberate intentional aggravated crime, killers of other offenders are reprehensible behavior, and the state's response to such crimes are always a conscious choice that traumatizes, stigmatizes, and tortures and must be rejected in all of its forms. This must be rejected in all instances because every human life has value. Death is irreversible and steals the opportunity for improving. Davis 19. Execution never results in justice. This will never right the wrongs of crimes committed. The government can no longer risk executing the wrong person in the name of justice. Wrongful convictions happen due to honest human mistakes. Eyewitness side identifications due to honest human memory errors, which often misremember important details about events no person knew for fallibility. 10 guilty should go free rather than one unjustly killed. Death seals that opportunity, ridding people of their constitutional rights to due process. The basis of human life is enough of an argument to repeal the death penalty. You can't teach a society that killing is wrong by killing. The ticketing of another life cannot demonstrate justice. Only vengeance disguised as justice. Keeping the death penalty lies a lawful form of punishment leaves the door open for politicians to easily apply as a penalty for other crimes in the future beyond the current offenses for which it's used. Every human life is valuable. Risking even one potentially innocent person's life is not worth it. Contention 2 is framing. Prioritize ethics. The violation of human dignity and moral disengagement at the heart of the death penalty are the same that facilitate genocide and cleanse the world of those deemed unsafe. Johnson 18. Moral shades of brutality are removed when officials are authorized to harm and belief they subscribe such a justice for the cleansing when victims are dehumanized, guards and their superiors bear no individual moral responsibility for actions necessary to maintain an orderly death, or these actions in the eyes of officers are virtuous because they're just and deserved given the enormity of capital crimes, just classified in the deadly process of execution. Their dehumanization emerges as a culmination of instruments and authority on condemned prisoners and rendered to dehumanized entities. Once punishments must be neutralized in order to carry out violence against a person who poses no immediate threat to one's warfare and to allow for the atrocities that are part of genocide. First comes moral disengagement, the neutralization of empathy, vital behavior, objectification that makes victims feel like objects that we get rid of rather than individuals like ourselves. Dehumanization training allows actors to see the target of violence as morally degrading species which can create a motive for violence. A respect for human dignity is necessary to sustain the essential meaning of being human. Without it, tyranny, war, and ecological plots are inevitable. Weiwei 19. When we abandon efforts to uphold human dignity, we forfeit the essential meaning of being human will fall into duplicity, folly, corruption, and tyranny, and endless stream of humanitarian crises that we see in the world today. History shows that moral failure is always accompanied by painful realities. The global refugee crisis is worsening daily. 70 million refugees have been forced to leave their homes. The ecological balance is ever more fragile, and potential political crises lurk while democratic governance is in decline. Human rights are shared values. Human rights are a common protection where abuses are committed to against anyone in our society. The dignity of humanity as a whole is compromised. A probability-centric framework best protects future generations. Karnofsky 14. The mere possibility of populated future endorses all other moral considerations because the argument relies on specific predictions about the far future backed by little other than speculation. I don't consider it rational to play a role in our actions. One thing we can tell here about the far future with donating to charities is rational to try to make a smaller but robustly different positive difference, whether or not the small amount of good was make a large impact on the future. Best approach to making a positive far future difference may be small but positive difference to the present. And thus the plan. The United States federal government should abolish the death penalty and enact the human dignity doctrine because it's a violation of human dignity. Centering abolition around dignity allows anti-death penalty efforts to continue the project of radical slavery abolitionists. It's the only strategy that addresses the root of injustice in the criminal justice system and affirms that no life is worth less than another. Malkani 18. Both slavery and the death penalty are institutional manifestations of the belief that some people's lives are worth less than others. Abolition should be centered on dignity rather than pragmatic and conservative death penalty courses. Anything short of a radical approach when enables illness to thrive. A non-radical approach risks entrenching very values that are the root of the problem. The slavery abolitionists recognizes be up to this regard. Each and every life has innately value, nonetheless, our radical approach to abolition must be centered on the idea of dignity. And it once seemed infeasible to speak about ending slavery. This is the crux of radical abolitionism. It's not the contention that wholesale change should be brought about overnight, but rather to develop minds and frameworks of being about such change in the future. Criminal justice revolves around the idea that some lives are not as valuable as others. The legacy of slavery has its tentacles firmly wrapped around all facets of American life. Although abolishing the death penalty might only wrap one of the tentacles of this process, and acts of abolition is granted the language of dignity, then it could be prosecuted in wrapping many others. Framing the death penalty as a violation of human dignity provides the tools to challenge or focus on a retribution that sustains other harsh punishments, and it allows us to fall in sync with the global anti-death penalty movement. Finding Speaker 16. Abolitionists need to change the framework of rights. Even if they accomplish complete abolition, they'll still be left with another tool degrading, inhumane, and ineffective punishment in its place. Only by adopting a human rights framework would it be possible to see other offenders as human beings. Other harsh punishments require a fundamental reframing of the narrative. Adopting this human rights framework would allow abolitionists to view convicted killers as fellow human beings. It would empower abolitionists to continue attacking the death penalty. And I believe my partner sent these cards out earlier. There's only one. Alright. No predictions, empirics proved and Trump. Kudza 9/11. We are 53 days away from the election in the grips of the pandemic to kill 400,000 by the end of the year. In the National Convention about Race was at least predictable in the White House in history. The last months before elections are always chaotic and unpredictable. That goes quadruple for this election. And I'm open for progress. Never mind. He's sending it out now.
What's the act
On the Supreme Court.
Does your plan solve all of
Sorry, what?
Does your plan solve all of racism?
No, we're saying that we solve racism in the prison complex,
Okay.
which would probably spill over to other sectors of the economy, but that's not our version of design.
What would happen after you end the what would happen if you want them?
Without the death row, people would be sent to other forms of imprisonment, which would not be inhumane because of the human dignity doctrine that would be enacted after the death penalty is abolished.
Can you explain that part of the plan, the human dignity doctrine?
Okay, the human dignity doctrine isn't a set law. It's not like a physical thing. It's just saying that the reason why we abolish the death penalty is to frame it in the language of dignity, which means that other punishments, other harsh punishments like life without parole would be slowly dissipated.
And how do you plan to solve judge bias?
The mindset of the judges. We're not actually going to brainwash people, obviously. So the reason why the death penalty being abolished would actually solve for the racism there is because if there aren't any inhumane punishments like LWOP, that means that judges and jurors that could be racist have nowhere to sentence them. So they have no opportunity to be racist.
Okay. And so after you abolish the plan, you're gonna get rid of LWOP?
In a way, we're just saying it won't be as inhumane as it is now, because we're not saying it's a good thing right now. We're just saying after the death penalty is removed, since it's the worst form of punishment there is, that means it'll spill over to other sectors of the prison industrial complex.
Okay. Can you explain your bias difference?
The one about the human dignity or the death penalty movement. It's just saying that we need to change the way we abolish things. So the reason why we have to abolish the death penalty is to get rid of all the human dignity violations. So by framing it in the eyes of dignity, that means you'd be getting rid of harsher punishments as well.
Okay. And why? So you're just saying in frame? Can you explain your dignity?
It's not a law, so it's not a mandatory physical thing. It's just saying that by framing the debate and framing the abolition of the death penalty through dignity, that means people and the government would start to realize that these other harsh punishments are inhumane, and they'd slowly topple one by one.
Oh, so just framing it in.
Yeah, we're saying the death penalty is the first step.
High school required about how when other countries adopted dignity, they were able to reduce harsher punishments such as solitary
And I just sent the one. Tell me when you guys get it. 7 off.
I got it. Please in order of the Birmingham and Buchanan. Is everyone ready? Yeah. Interpretation, acting, literacy, appeal, no day, enactment, law, literacy, acknowledgement, personal alcohol, interpretive, also, the techniques on core, and just part of the law with the recognized value, external law. Bonus, the material pieces of React Knowledge for Talking Executive Version, got questionnaires like federal and policy accuracy piece. Present, leave out pieces the most formal day skill. Now, since my your agent's bad decks, counterplaying on the hinge, just like unpredictable agency spikes, will alleviate pre-round prep. 2. Interpretation is enhanced reform a systemic components systemically affect the whole world from the system created 14. Critical action events and research report improve efficient critical response and roles in the strategy that community working collaborate across the application and the need for system thinking and American program objects in other areas. Validation, the absence of substantial reform is defined as systemic, motivation for limiting ground that all new non-systemic gaps that work coordinate options and expose the topic education and fairness. 3. Type of basing all roles several into the United States of all the death penalty. Leading from a sea level shows the momentum against the death penalty for Supreme Court model, Psalm 19. These actions at the federal level so heavily we have any movement from the U.S. Supreme Court authority found death penalty constitutional, but according to New Hampshire, rule death penalty constitutional involving standards decently, it also happening in states. 4. Biden winning now the last election proves Trump will turn around for 10-9. Political Biden has like Biden battling Trump and national political Trump changed the rule rating in days turns out having back from gravity 4 years ago, drew out whether he can do the same again. Trump switching and strategy for Supreme Court reform was over key swing voters who tried to want to understand why Joe Biden fear against it and Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, went to no further Rachel Justin when November 2nd to rely on Louisiana some of his base they still time for President turning around. I'm here to talk about support for police from President before. Trump election often climate change to unravel domestic regulation and U.S. intending under Trump once your international crime movement collapses, doing millions irreversible worst case climate scenarios for each 20. Reality Trump was sent for working in area with a danger, reading out and looking out Arctic ice to increase cost reducing policy, Trump to drop out of Paris Agreement, and 100 million will have food from the environmental world to 95 so far, 7 court considered delinquency deals moving major setback. 5. Clearly between legitimacy, despite recent controversies, there's constitutional right to nominate justices, court rulings on social issues not based on constitutional text, or American code with legitimacy of conservative law in 10-7. The unfettered legitimacy crisis because the president will also follow the law has built teaching Supreme Court advised and even playing field. Neither assuming certain outcomes Supreme Court never reach. Abortion definitely would leak in journals of original court Heavy 19. Intended over definitely could have blown out chamber years ago. Remain the controversial issue of political support reaching like 1990 non-constitutional way that Texas already seen policy court 6 constitutional ban on cruel and unusual employment did not guarantee prison paying of debt. In general, the original over definitely created Supreme Court mentality considering some of non-steel dependency when launching World War 18. The Constitution Center to extend of the amendment will definitely go to the height of the vote of all definitely. We don't see any justice voluntary taking on issue, political controversial abolition of power tournament that just denied face of constitutional rights they had to come from the president over power wage war. And Trump trying to cast down elections against steal presidency, legitimacy election being resolved for the huge government, temporary erupting into the civil rights for violence King 10-9. This means the presidential election had a nature site and accurate finances and institution of who consider who was elected to bring her back to the election that turns election free state needed for battle of Virginia of US adults for the emergency civil war. They cannot be rushed to for the pandemic beyond level with guns, not writing guns and democracy and every weaker. 6. The 180 sees criminal reform over redeemable for no which prevents understanding partiality as structuring principle of society. Criminal reform gets part of a liberal theory narrative that seems to regime that seems like gains in Matthew Martin 10. CPMP that both direct outcome state conduct war is really violence and not imprisonment for the regional institution power, create protocol military psychological domination, brutal historical anti-black, state violence, particle treatable, continental racial child slavery and Africa, white supremacy, racial segregation, paradise, brutal recognize the physical systemic violence, normalized black genocide, personal and systemic violence beyond the civil side, radical theology that people remotely justify defending politics and title for the regime, reform and libertarian understanding, bureaucratic mobilization, state violence against disabled captives, like industrial ones that most significant reformers in the U.S. Institutes and feminine located liberal impulse for reforming institutions, state violence, and all Washington. For different apples and technology, located over the living history, radical anti-carceral movements, they are educated from mobilized, abundant scholarship that's only ethical from government carceology will ensure business out of violence and extinguish Rogers 10. Embrace danger of the future circulation and anchor living age control, not supplement disorder and constant media, requires sustainable defense to consider how we know the person policing, and we know defensible ecological pollution other than abolition one, this precondition of saying liberatory social and emergency person is assembly agenda messaging misery, reproducing corruption and climate manage the long-term survival planet and depend on our willingness to embrace ecological audacity. 7. Reform now causes massive court call, prosecutorial opposition causes appeal to higher courts, and waves of defendants seeking help massively overburden the system more in 19. CGI reducing sentences and police and playing on every courtroom. Prosecutor have dug in against the law. The office of 198 position seating sentences election and court case on hold until the U.S. settle officer in universal agreement when eligible and applying a college system can all be years old before I have a record because for that have fulfilled. Courts do enter unproduced and division serving in biotech, a strong chemical industry, key development models near the extinction of Gospel 10. Clean Rights and Planning by the Center for Undertaking Innovation, critical active rendering capital finance and biotechnology, tonight and paying rate, strong key competition to radical innovation and effective market. The product market, the framing. Where mean or social violence for intervention and the torture impacts the suspected value 92% probability possible maker and balancing with all air term Ben 17. Excited value of waves and understanding mental for a large magnitude of low probability consequence of so great rational will be debated and nominated by the written Haftar as Bruce also going to get us. It requires a lot more danger of accident. Nuclear was not really the biggest lecture dangerous beyond the only way to avoid by directly conflict catastrophe. To extinction, quantifically different impact response comes first for 17. It's good for people like extinction to deprive people of this, millions of people will likely die at the same time as other no future generation value of the generation together. Really see the value of current generation would be the loss of only normal form of intelligence, life, and human capacity, rationality, valuable in self, using people in their physical pain or painful premature death. There could be very psychological effects and the hopelessness. There will be no more humans in your party will end with you. On to dignity. Abortion definitely won't on further criminal justice reform sector 20. Abortion actually be progressive reform and other capital country eliminates all on the street art, but it's not problem that matters like trying to lead to radar. A quick consideration capital and definitely making reforms even necessary and just less disturbing because skeptical of all of those obvious predictions. Like law pro replaces the death penalty, it causes even more torture than Prop 20. Like the pro replaces definitely continuation of same government focused mindset if you are incarceration of past decades. Also, nothing will be considered one political country or another. Even solid organized in some persons by influencing better Australian definite and license in some persons and like that rule logically in language another time by being that while you're still alive. The incapacitation saved life by preventing further murder, who citizens and community escaped and independent by 2019. Incapacitation saved life by preventing murder from killing every innocent and death in 1991. Escaping from Mr. Burr, life that program, no strength, community retired party, murder and escape in 2015 aided a great escape, only doesn't avoid in Canada between acts of violence and people that would have lost death penalty. 4. Trump comes human rights in 2019. Further makes basic comments that we can indicate about Muslim predictors from the notion of human rights, attack Palestinian free new rights outbreaks, starting label over and murder of Casaria, Iran, paragraph, opposed reproductive rights, meaning quality from ignoring the UDHR, other briefly adding human rights agenda, actively attending credit under human rights, don't be surprised ignorance and repression.
Should we just hold document?
Or Trump comes. Alright, are you good for consent? Yeah. Alright. First on the framing page, your Harris and Bender evidence, could you just explain how the magnitude time probability works? Because, like, obviously magnitude can be millions of people, but probability is limited to 100. So basically we're saying that even if, like, it's a really large magnitude, there's some probability of it. You still have to, like, prioritize it. Since if there's some probability of it happening, then it's like, a high. Sure, I understand that, but even if the probability of an impact is 100%, it can't be an impact that's like millions of magnitudes. So how is this fair for the framing page? Because like we're trying to prioritize something the most amount of people in order to like. Okay. So you're just saying like every life is valuable, so you should solve all of them. We're prioritizing like, and also when there's like when we hurt
actually talk, it also hurts like the people you're trying to talk.
Okay, yeah, sure, that makes sense. What's the status of the alt? So just for clarification, you're abolishing the prison system.
We're changing our like mindset.
Could you just explain what exactly is the alt doing?
Like we're changing the way we actually live on just the way we
Like in what way?
like we just don't think of it as like a government.
Okay, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what does the alt do that like gets out of this debate?
Because we're changing the way we look at this system, and then since right now we're just looking at it as the government is allowed to do these things, so then when we like rethink the whole system, we actually learn more, and then it educates us.
Alright, I guess in a world where we do the alt and the prison industrial complex is abolished at the end, where do all the prisoners go? Or where do all the criminals go?
I think like just nothing could be worse than what it is right now. So then like changing our mindset would be like anything would be better than something.
Okay. What's the status of the counter plan?
That's conditional.
How exactly are you getting all 50 states to cooperate with the plan? Okay, cool. Do you have any questions? Actually, I have one last question. For the inactity, what's the topical version of the death penalty act that would fit under this?
Like Congress or executives.
Okay. We're gonna start using our prep. I'll just let you know when we're done. We have 6 minutes.
Just in the document. And the order is going to be advantage, framing, TLAC, T-subsets, elections, states, the K, and the performance.
Can you do it again, Henry?
framing, T enact, T subsets, elections, DA, state counterpart, the K, or what. Did I bring you the document? Just Lacey, she just.
Yeah, okay, I'll do it. Oh, it's here. So this is on 22.
Just turn it off for this. Actually, no, just turn it off to like 27.
25.
6,
25. 27 is like burning.
Dave, use the document. Alright. Is everyone ready? Go back to Washington, whole team, concentration, outside US, and it's more serious, understand the whole team. Are you ready to this cause trouble down to maximum? As the way institutions all the plan that shouts it, allow my things to know, Lord, yes, Lord, there's two words really words first. A believe we go to other countries, a lot of they need based on evolution, framework theory, able to reduce up the hard shortness like life pride, and allow us to beat the Jews, with the US, when that whole team is Washington, that's over, it's Washington, Salt Lake, Pride, Virginia, and they say, what we said is go with the 8th Amendment, we're souls, which will be by the course of other cases by sentences, doing multi hours, moral and unusual household houses. That was a very hard in the 180 and that's a human dignity doctrine, which also invalidate all of means of 180 on an automatic soul, and there's no reason why they release argument and they actually to the turn to get cataloged is key to condemning unquestionably the guilty killers outweighs the negligent risk of a receivers. It's part of the 17. In some cases, there is ineligible or non-existent opposing opposition of the upon honest person tells us that there's very little or proportional or for a guilty person, and they should trump them to fiat souls, and I'll do more of this on elections framing. Group of their one is the arguments that extinction doesn't come first, overgoes are violent to cause bad policy making, opening responsible problems that have been real effects assholes, experts in the poverty just committee. Second, prioritizing is always extinction always delays some structural violence, which means that timeline can never solve case. Third, extinction causes overestimate there's value of lives, so that's focus, and we don't be reduced something good, but we just think that you should focus on probability of those impacts to the story bias means that every internal link makes is much lower, but it's time more pervasive. Gina. We meet pilots and we meet other person enforce legislation to enact the legislative reform based on policy requirements and accountability acts of other new law and coverage in the highest authority enacting law to make the legislative intent. They prefer to go to parties to conclusive on determining with the law. Those parties decisions might not be law by the eyes of the effectively as the legislature had enacted the decision or even very first over limiting the information is over limiting basically exclusive core topic after the or any other or any other that shields on top of registration. Second, no ground laws. They could just write a CGR back this side and the LTs and cap out, so they should have that 30 feet of money because we never come in terms of waste the bottom, which are substance of anything that we specialization is it's important substance. We meet pilots in the vacuum. We meet Washington has an overall impact system because it's rules are one way just consent people and we can inform me if they fall under one of the society areas of the solution is dehydration, more value 15. All these units will come out of the civil thing if you don't like me. Oh, we're going to accept the criminal justice behind the law. There's not going to be any definitely for good. The answer is no, we must feel that was the under federal statutes. Functional and functional